I'm Adrian. I'm the founder of E-ccommodate. E-ccommodate is a platform that helps separated parents arrange childcare without conflict. Now, the need for this service first became apparent to me, at least, in my role as a barrister. About a year ago, I was walking back from court, and that morning, I'd been in the cells with a man who'd been arrested for breaching a restraining order. He'd explained to me that he was perfectly well aware that he was not allowed to contact his ex-wife. He was also aware that in order to arrange contact with his children, he'd have to go through a third party, in his case, social services or a friend. His excuse was this: it wasn't working. He tried to go through the social services and his friend, it had not happened. He'd got frustrated. He went round to the address and he breached the order. Now, it wasn't the fact that he breached or what happened to him later which made me think about his case on the way home, and it certainly wasn't, it might surprise you to hear, the compassion for his situation. It was, in fact, the fact that this was not remarkable at all. This is the sort of case I see all the time. I wondered how often this sort of thing happened across the country. Statistics indicate that for every 40,000 protective orders made, there are 20,000 breach events. How many of those can be attributed to circumstances like that? I don't know is the candid answer, but we see it all the time in court, and that rate of progress is not good enough. I wanted to see whether that could be a digital solution to arranging something which on the face of it seems quite straightforward, the arrangement of moving a child from A to B. So I started speaking to other separated parents. This much larger group, people that aren't necessarily on orders, they've just separated because the relationship broke down. 2.5 million people in the United Kingdom. I just wanted to understand the logistics so I could build something worth having. But I learned a lot more than logistics. When I spoke to these parties, not 2.5 million, you understand, when I spoke to these parties, they told me that actually the agony of separation, the distress, the conflict, and sometimes the competitive nature of both makes reaching agreement very difficult indeed. It was clear that a solution that was designed to help people in very specific circumstances get the protection they need from a domestic violence order would be equally valuable to this much larger group of people who needed an effective way of access to a practical solution. So what is that solution? E-ccommodate is modelled on the principles of mediation. Rather than letting parties at their lowest ebb and most inexperienced go head-to-head and fight out what they should have as an agreement for childcare, each party is asked to give E-ccommodate what they want, outline, sometimes in broad terms, sometimes in specific terms, what they want from the agreement. We then pair data, find agreements, and send out proposals. Of course, if no proposals can be found and no match is found, we give neutral advice, worded carefully to each party, instructing them on what they need to do if they want to find an agreement. Of course, even when these proposals are found and a childcare arrangement put in place for a period of months, maybe even years, there will be sources of conflict during the lifetime of the child, whether or not little Susie is allowed to go to the French trip, or whether or not she stays at Christmas with her father or a mother. And if they reach an impasse and find that they can't find agreement, E-ccommodate provides an additional service: access to alternative dispute resolution, more commonly mediators in the most part, experienced and trained professionals who can deal with these sorts of situations and provide quick and cost-effective solutions. But more importantly, E-ccommodate narrows the issues, making sure that the mediator only needs to deal with those specific points in dispute. That's useful because it reduces the amount of time the mediator needs to spend on the case and the amount of cost incurred by the parents, already avoiding the more significant cost of litigation. This is entirely in line with what the Ministry of Justice is trying to achieve. Currently, 8% of people who go through separation use mediation. The objective of the Ministry of Justice is to get that up to around 30%. So who benefits? The reduction in conflict between parents is beneficial to the welfare of the child. That's the most important point for the law, it's the most important point for the parents, and it's the most important point for any worthwhile contributor to this issue. Of course, the arrangements are also recordable and reliable to stop misunderstandings. And because there's a neutral body making proposals, it's more likely to be fair. Less likely that one party can coerce and influence the other and force them into a solution which isn't right. But E-ccommodate is also built with the needs of the court service and all the service providers that work therein, making it as easy as possible for them to do their jobs. And it's this critical objective which will allow E-ccommodate to be distributed throughout the law courts of England and Wales. We're working with multiple agencies, both within the criminal justice system and the civil justice system, to make sure the build allows this. The business model, well, in the first case, B2C, simply selling the unit, but a relatively small cost to ensure we don't undermine the distribution nationally. B2B, using a national client base, E-ccommodate will negotiate lower fees from local mediators, ensuring them a constant stream of work. And with those savings, E-ccommodate will draw yet another line of revenue and pass on savings again to the parents, allowing greater access to that help. Well, you're looking at the team, and it is perhaps an impressive team, but it needs at least one other member. And we have a prototype. Here we go already. I have a prototype which is built in the shadow of the law, in the shadow of government policy, but also through user feedback. I want to move this project forward. I want to build an MVP, and then I want to go beyond that and make sure we can emancipate these parents, give them the help they need, and distribute through the various agencies and the court services. So if you feel as strongly as I do about helping these parents, some of which have nowhere else to go, and if you feel that you have the technical skills to make this happen, then I very much want to speak to you. Of course, if you don't have the technical skills, I'll also speak to you. And if you think that you can help in any way or advise, I'm more than happy to help, to listen rather. Thank you very much.